What's up, everyone? We got another NFL offseason recap video. Today, we're going to be looking at the New Orleans Saints, how their season went last year, what they've done so far in free agency, and what they should be looking for in the draft. Now, man, seems like every year the Saints come into the playoffs red hot, and then they just choke. Like, Drew Brees doesn't play up to how he played in the regular season. Sean Payton starts running plays that he's never run in the regular season. They just keep trying new things. They finished 13-3 in the regular season. Half of those games, no, 5 of those games just started by their backup quarterback, Teddy Bridgewater. They finished 5-1 in their division, and they still get to the playoffs and choke versus the Vikings, where it seems that their third-string quarterback and do-it-all gadget player, Taysom Hill, was their best player. I mean, it's tough for the Saints fans because, I mean, they're one of the most loyal and most supportive fans out there. And just every year, it just seems like the Saints can't get it done in the playoffs. Despite that, I mean, I think they had a great season. Drew Brees broke the passing touchdowns record. I mean, it was just a great season all around for the Saints, except when they got to the playoffs. Their offense was really good this year. Again, finishing fourth in offensive DVOA. Drew Brees had another great season. Teddy Bridgewater had an amazing spots, 5 starts. Was on him to get big money in free agency this year. Alvin Kamara, a little less efficient than he's normally is. Latavius Murray had a couple of good games when Kamara was out. And, of course, Michael Thomas broke Marvin Harrison's record. So Saints players were just breaking offensive records left and right. They still lacked a number 2 receiver. Jared Cook had a great breakout year with the Saints, continuing off his good form with the Raiders. So all around good offensive performance by the Saints. They finished 11th in defensive DVOA, and I think 3 guys really just had a great season. Cameron Jordan, of course, one of the best defensive ends in the league. Demario Davis, highly underrated. He showed that he was one of the best inside linebackers, could cover running backs, tight ends, stop the run, just do it all. And Marshawn Lattimore had a great bounce back season, showing his shutdown cornerback form that he had in his rookie season in 2017. Now, the Saints didn't make any moves before free agency, which leads us to who they added in free agency. So a lot of them was just re-signing a bunch of their players from last year. Re-signing Drew Brees to a 2-year, $50 million contract. This was guaranteed. Like, unless Brees retired, Brees was coming back to New Orleans to win a chip again. So I think that's a good deal for them. $25 million is a great deal for a guy that just broke the passing record. Yes, his age is on the decline, and his play is going to be on the decline, but, I mean, he just broke the passing record. He's one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the NFL still to this day, so good deal for that. I hated this next deal. Andrews Pete, 5-year, $57 million contract. The Saints are one of my, favorite teams to watch. They're just a fun team. They do a bunch of trick plays. Whenever you watch a playoff game for the Saints, you see that Andrews Pete is overmatched. Other teams target Andrews Pete. He was the lowest graded guard from PFF's grading system. And this guy just isn't a guard. He played tackle for the first couple of years of his career until Ryan Ramczyk came, and then he got moved to left guard, and he just struggled ever since. And giving him this massive contract, I mean, they must have a plan to either trade him, or I guess they're just not going to re-sign Ryan Ramczyk, and they're going to move Pete back to right tackle or move him to right guard instead of Larry Warford. I don't see why they would make this big of a deal for a guy that sucks as bad as he does. Well, moving on, the Saints signed Malcolm Jenkins to a 4-year, $32 million contract. Malcolm Jenkins played with the Saints when they won the Super Bowl back in 2009. So good deal to get him back, 4-year, $32 million. This guy still plays at a high level, was one of the leaders in the Eagles locker room. He just had problems with Doug Peterson off the locker room and off the field. Emmanuel Sanders, 2-year, $24 million contract. Love this deal. You're not going to be able to find the top 4 receivers at the Saints pick in the draft. So us getting a number 2 receiver that's had production that you can count on is good. And Emmanuel Sanders had some big games with the Niners, and he was that leadership that you need in the locker room. And getting him for only $12 million, I mean, he was, in my opinion, the best receiver on the market. So I think the Saints got a real good deal there in their pass-happy offense with Sean Payton. Then the Saints just made some in-house moves, re-signing P.J. Williams to a 1-year, $2 million contract. P.J. Williams is more versatile than other cornerbacks, but, I mean, he is still one of the worst cornerbacks in the league, in my opinion. Consistently gets beat. He was the one that Kyle Rudolph caught the jump ball over in the playoffs. So, I mean, I don't like the signing, but I guess the Saints see something in him that I don't. Justin Hardy re-signed him to a 1-year, $1.1 million contract. they signed DJ Swearinger to a 1-year, $1 million contract. Swearinger was one of the better safeties in the league a couple of years ago before his off-the-field issues and his locker room issues took over. So maybe the Saints will be able to fix that. And they signed Noah Spence to a 1-year, $940 million contract. Now, one thing I wanted to add before I move on, the Saints have always entered free agency with almost the least amount of cap space out of any team in the NFL. But they've always been able to structure their contracts so that they'd be able to create more cap space. And one way of doing this is turning a player's salary cap hit into a signing bonus, which means they won't be paying a player along the course of the season. They're going to pay the player instantly before the season starts. Now, this can go both ways, right? Obviously, you're going to save money for the salary cap. Like, you're going to have less money devoted to that player, which will be on your cap hit. But you're also basically betting on the player to have a full season of production. And if you cut them, you're still going to have to play them. So they did this to players like Michael Thomas and Teron Armstead, but these two players, I mean, they're pretty much two of their best players and most important players as well. So you know the production you're going to get out of those two, but still, like, the Saints have been able to restructure contracts to free up cap space for years, and they continued it this year, which is why they got so many players in free agency. Now, not too many players left the Saints. Obviously, backup quarterback Teddy Bridgewater was going to go get a starting job. He's going to get big money for agency, and the Saints couldn't afford him, so he went to the Panthers. Backup receiver Keith Kirkwood went to the Panthers. Outside linebacker A.J. Klein, who Saints fans really liked, he's going to the Bills, and I think it's a smart move. You don't need A.J. Klein. You can get someone in the draft. There's better outside linebackers than A.J. Klein. And then safety Von Bell, who has played out of position this year at strong safety, is going to the Bengals to return to his true position, which is free safety. Now on to the draft. Well, before free agency started, everyone thought the Saints were going to take a receiver with their pick in the first round because they didn't have a number 2 receiver. But now that they got Emmanuel Sanders, they can shift their focus elsewhere, especially their defense. So replacing A.J. Klein is pretty much the only move they should really look to make. I think their best bet will be getting someone like Patrick Queen, who had a great national championship game, and he could fit very nicely with Demario Davis, a guy that can play both. He can go sideline to sideline, cover running backs, cover tight ends, which is what you want in a linebacker. Maybe someone like Kenneth Murray if Queen gets taken by like the Raiders or something. But I think Queen is the best bet for the Saints. Another move that the Saints should look to do is add another edge rusher outside Cameron Jordan. Now, if you look at their games, you'll see that Cameron Jordan is getting double teamed, and they have guys like Trey Hendrickson and like David Onyemata trying to rush the quarterback. You need another edge rusher. And yes, I understand Davenport is there and Sheldon Rankins is there, but both have missed time due to injury each year, especially in the playoffs. So you need to look to beef up that defensive line, especially edge rusher. Maybe like Julian Okwara, maybe Clevin Chason or Yetur Gross-Matos in the first round, possibly second round. But that's what the Saints should look to do. And adding a slot receiver should be what the Saints should look to do in the third, fourth, maybe second round. KJ Hamler, maybe like KJ Hill from Ohio State. These are good guys that would fit well in their offense. A guy that the Saints could trust to make plays after the catch and block and be in the screen game, all of that. And finally, getting us outside cornerback to complement Marshawn Lattimore is important as well because Eli Apple wasn't able to live up to the job, and now he's a free agent on the market after his contract with the Raiders failed. So getting an outside cornerback to complement Marshawn Lattimore is an important need as well. That is all for this NFL offseason recap video on the New Orleans Saints. Don't forget to like, comment what do you think the Saints record will be in 2020, and subscribe.